Abby?
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
Have you ever heard somebody say it's for kids whenever a genuinely garbage film comes out? You know, that one excuse that ignorant adults use to completely dismiss any criticism anybody has for it? Well, the same pretty much applies to any film that is catered towards a specific fan base. The only difference is, children are still learning about the world around them, and although some may be smart, others don't know better. Fans, on the other hand, are a different beast. They think they always know better because they've grown up and know the source material through and through. Therefore, they act as a moral high ground for any project that comes out. And I'm just going to say it straight. The fans aren't always right. Say what you want about the critics, but just know that the fans aren't the best source for judgment either. We shouldn't just excuse bad filmmaking just because it's made specifically for the fans. Just because a certain project gives them everything they desire doesn't mean it deserves all the praise. And the Five Nights at Freddy's movie from 2023 is no exception. There's no denying it. This movie is awful. It's objectively awful. No, it's automatically awful. All my life, I was conditioned to believe that everybody knew what bad movies were. But apparently, that isn't the case. The movie currently stands at 33% on both Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic. But of course, just like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the audiences are the only ones correct, and the critics can just shove it. Because Lord knows, a review from a 5-star critic that says this movie could have used more humor and better jump scares is not as reliable as somebody who says say FNAF Night at Freddy's, but says poops instead of nights. Now those are the words of a true educated member of society. Godspeed. To be fair, while I haven't played the games myself, I do know much about the hype surrounding it. And I have to be honest, the games that originated this movie are not known for having a very compelling story. And let me just say this, having the original creator write the screenplay does not necessarily mean that this film is in good hands. Nor great hands. If you want to be real pretentious, Scott Cawthon is a game developer first and a screenwriter last. He did not foresee the monster of a franchise his creation would become. Back then, it was just a response to backlash to one of his earlier video game titles. He did not create the lore surrounding it. You have the fan base to thank for that. They came up with outlandish theories about the characters in the games, and Cawthon just ran with it. And I guarantee you, they will try to defend this movie as long as it respects their lore to a T. So allow me to spill the tea for them. Story and lore are not one of the same. Story is all about the choices the characters make and why. Lore, on the other hand, is all the background information you hear in history class. Who was this person? What happened here long ago? Myths and facts generated by scientists and theorists fascinated by the subject. And ironically, this film doesn't exactly follow the game's lore entirely. But that's all to be discussed real soon. But first, I have a little message for all the Fazbear fanatics out there. Now you listen to me closely. I critique films and popular media because I care. I care more so than, say, anybody else on this platform. I do it in hopes that the people over in Hollywood actually listen. Because most of the time, any genuine criticism is drowned out by a sea of screaming yes men who think they know more than I do, all because they played the video games. Now, with video games, you could easily get away with having a muddled script and storyline, because there are plenty of other aspects to complement, such as gameplay mechanics, graphics, functioning UI and CPU, etc. Overall, the experience triumphs over the storytelling. Movies, on the other hand, don't have that same advantage. Here on the internet, a trash script still equates to a trash movie, even if it has a ton of polish in terms of cinematography, set design, performances, etc. So when I see a film adapted from a video game, I'm not going to hold back on saying anything negative. Because I know for a fact that all of you only need enough faithfulness to the source material to be satisfied. Oh, I'm not going to stop you from singing your praises. But just remember this. You're on my turf, my sanctuary, my hood. And I can spill my guts all I want. If you don't like what I have to say, you can feel free to click away right now. And for those of you who are brave enough, brace yourselves. Because I'm about ready to give this movie the proper beating it deserves. This is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So, where do we begin? Oh, would you look at that! Not even 10 minutes in, and we're already starting off with the most overused horror movie cliche in history. The one where an unlucky individual is trying to escape a major threat in the film that has yet to be seen. Now, I wouldn't mind this cliche all that much. Mostly if we don't have a clue to who this threat is, and what it would look like along the line. But this is a movie based on a horror game series made for 4th graders. As if half the audience doesn't already know who that shadowy figure is. And if you're able to bash your kid's head in for saying it's Foxy to the theater screen, neither will they. Leave it to this adaptation to deplete any sense of mystery and imagination. As the opening credits roll, I suppose the time is right to give the film some compliments. I appreciate the effort to make this place feel truly dreary and reminiscent of an old rundown location from the 80s. Not to mention the fabulous effort from the Jim Henson Company for designing and building true-to-life animatronics to represent Freddy and his crew. I was a teensy bit skeptical, because Blumhouse is highly cost-cautious with their projects, especially more so than Illumination and other horror films. But I was quite relieved that they actually committed to having high-end practical effects featured, especially in an industry dominated by CGI. The performances from the actors are decent enough, and yeah, that's where my positives end. Time to close the doors and lock up some servos, I guess. While the Easter eggs are fun to catch. Oh, don't get me wrong, they are a nice addition to movies. However, from now on, I will be referring to them as what I like to call an ooh shiny. What do I mean by this? Well, let's just scroll through this scene and I'll show you.
Chica,
Ooh, shiny! Yeah, it's the same issue as with the Mario movie. While they're not as widespread, they are distracting enough to make the viewers forget that they're watching a pile of junk. It is like nostalgia bait overload. It is just sad that we as a movie-going public have to rely on references and cheap callbacks to enjoy what's being shown on screen. So we're introduced to Mike Schmidt, the unseen playable character from the first game. He's played by that man who once dyed his hair blonde in order to smooch Jennifer Lawrence. Mike currently looks after his sister Abby after their parents tragically passed. And oh boy is he killing it at that job.
5 minutes.
As a matter of fact, he's killing it elsewhere. Mike watches a lonely kid get snatched away by his father. And don't you try to tell me that we don't know if it's his father or not. I know beforehand, up to the moment Mike tackles him, that man was definitely the boy's papa. He should be lucky that man didn't press any charges for no reason. The reasoning behind that attack was, the little boy reminded Mike of his brother Garrett, who was kidnapped at a young age. And Mike continues to have nightmares of that same dreadful day ever since. We then cut to a scene where Mike is talking to a career counselor named Shaggy Rogers. William Afton. Steve Rag. You know what? I'm just going to call him by the former. William Afton, the supposed antagonist of the games, who murdered children and stuffed their bodies and souls in animatronic suits. Why am I guessing so early that he's the film's antagonist? Oh, I can just tell by his performance and the way he's written. Oh, and also the fact that Mr. Employee of the Month just blatantly blurted it out that he was playing Mr. Purple Guy in an early press release. So basically PR just set up an expectation for me and ruined what was supposed to be a big reveal.
Hey, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. This movie has been setting me up for disappointment early on. It's like receiving a gift basket at a birthday party filled with melted chocolate, knowing that somebody left it in the sun for too long. But seriously, just pay close attention to Matthew Lillard's performance here.
Oh sure, that look on his face doesn't mean anything. Good old Shags the Ditches has definitely never seen our boy Mikey in his life, and he sure as hell has no ulterior motive whatsoever. So Afton offers Mike a security position at an abandoned themed entertainment facility, where he needs to keep the place tidy and ensure nobody breaks in while he's there. The only catch is,
I can't do nights.
Mike initially declines the offer because it would get in the way of his highly significant sleep schedule, but then later pivots to taking the position once he learns that he might lose custody of Abby to his Aunt Jane.
And this degenerate is who they entrust with the well-being of a mentally ill child.
Yeah, she's the selfish caregiver who doesn't like children and is only interested in money. And you know what? I don't really care about this situation at all. Not just from Aunt Jane's side, but from Mike's side as well. We already established that Mike is so preoccupied with trying to comprehend the kidnapping of his dead sibling that it has made him completely disconnected from the sibling that is still alive and breathing. I see what they're trying to do here, but I just feel they could have done a little bit more to humanize their relationship. I imagine a moment between Mike and Abby where they're talking about their family and Garrett, but at the same time realize they're in a rough situation and cope with the fact that they only have each other to depend on. But who needs family bonds when we have a dozen ooze shinies to rub in people's faces? Like this one, for instance. Wow. The fright music just went off a mere second after that reveal.
Oh,
look, it's Balloon Boy! He's not supposed to make an appearance until the second game! Okay, moving on. So far, aside from Afton once again not so subtly hinting at himself being a shady individual, it is safe to say the uneventful first night is the closest aspect to the game this movie will ever be. But don't get your hopes up. While sitting at the monitors, Mike falls asleep and once again dreams of his brother's kidnapping, but this time he finds 5 other children in the same field. They run, he chases them, he trips, and the night ends. While there's nothing particularly wrong with this scene, the real issue begins to arise on the next night, when Mike actually gets close to catching one of the children. But strangely enough, this kid in particular would much rather play a game of pirates over hide and seek.
I'm sorry. This is the peak horror that is supposed to make us jump? I could make this scene scarier than this movie has. I mean, was Mike just patiently waiting for that poor squirt to squeal at him the moment he got up close? But who cares? Step aside, Exorcist. Your amount of horror is nothing compared to a squealing redhead with cranberry juice running from his eyes.
Also, isn't the whole point of the original game to keep the animatronics from entering the office so they won't try to fit Mike into a suit with gears and sharp blades? I guess we don't have to worry about that, because most of the time on the job, Mike is off in dreamland trying to find answers to his baby brother's kidnapping, completely ignoring the one job that will keep his sister away from Auntie Morbucks for good.
Yeah, just like the games.
Oh wow, it sounds just like the light switch in the first game. This movie knows me so well. Yeah, imagine being excited over a flipping soundbite. Let's see, we're 30 minutes in. I guess it's a good time to introduce our boring love interest. Actually, I don't really need to do that, because she does that twice for no reason.
Please, her name's Vanessa.
Vanessa Shelley.
But hey, maybe she has some flavor to herself that I haven't noticed.
Add to that the thing with those kids going missing.
Oh, I see, she's just here to be the film source for an exposition dump. I didn't think the fans were such toddlers that they need to be spoon-fed their precious lore every few minutes.
You said some kids went missing?
Back in the 80s.
What happened to them?
I'm just going to rewind a bit so we can understand the next issue. Earlier that day, Aunt Jane was cooking up something dire for our pal Mikey. Oh, but not without receiving another ooh shiny to eat on the road.
You do realize that lunch is the most important meal of the day.
Thought it was breakfast.
Some people say that, but you know, it's just...
Oh no! Now we'll never know if that familiar looking waiter will say the truly iconic line that automatically makes this film a cinematic masterpiece.
So anyway, Auntie, along with Abby's babysitter Max and her brother, devise a plan to break in and trash Freddy's to get Mike fired. And so they come right after he leaves his shift. Even though Mike's job is to keep people from breaking in while he's working. Which is at night. I'm sorry, where's the logic behind this moronic plan again? They break in and trash the place after Mike clocks out? Sure, Mike will get a penalty, but I doubt that will guarantee an immediate resignation. But who cares? The outcome to this setup is quite obvious. I hope you folks enjoy this scene, because it's the only amount of animatronic related carnage that you'll ever witness. Oh, and of course, Max is here to demonstrate the second most overused horror movie cliche in history. Having completely insignificant characters make completely brain-dead decisions, in this case regarding a large gaping hole. That's right, Max, peer your eyes inside the jaws of that uncanny-looking demented mechanical beast. Ain't nothing severe will occur. Oh! And we have the catch of the day. So Vanessa comes to report that people broke into Freddy's during the day, and chastises Mike for not doing his job. Once again, I am going to emphasize, Mike was supposed to keep people from breaking into Freddy's during his shift, at night. I'm pretty sure Afton won't mind a few corpses lying around.
So there's this theory that we can't forget things.
Yeah, this scene is really not that important. We do learn that Mike takes medication to return to Dreamland to find answers. But other than that, it's just reiterating information we already know. So with Max out of the picture, Mike has nobody to look after Abby. He obviously won't leave her with Auntie because she's a money-grubbing bitch. And knowing his situation, he can't afford to find another sitter. Not even one who can work for free, apparently. Come to think of it, why doesn't he just ask Vanessa to look after Abby? Sure, she has her own security occupation, but we don't really see her in action. Aside from info dumping. But no, that would be adding logic to an already illogical movie. And if you've seen the trailer, you can already tell where this leads. 3 cheers for child endangerment! As if Mike doesn't have enough legal baggage already, he can add child endangerment to his public custody case. And I say this because Miss Legal Baggage literally has a lawyer to sue Mr. Money Baggage the moment he screws up again. Like how he deliberately abandons Abby in the restaurant so he can play with his new buddies in Dreamland once more. Hold up.
This movie must really think I'm that dumb. It really thinks it could pull another one on me, can it? You see Balloon Boy in the frame right there. Surely it doesn't mean we're going to get up close and personal, right? Alright, I'll just press play to see if I'm wrong. You have to have the brain the size of a chestnut to think that'll make me jump.
I'm just going to go over Nights 3 and 4 in one go. Mike soon finds out that the kids in Dreamland are possessing the animatronics and could be connected to his brother's killer. And just by listening to Josh Hutcherson's performance, you could tell he is easily disturbed by all of this.
Children possessing giant robots? Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, to think children possessing animatronic performers would leave more of a shock. But that's when the film flips you on your head.
They wouldn't stop tickling me.
Hey, remember when this was a horror movie? It turns out they're the good guys. Who cares if they massacred some invaders that broke into Freddy's this past week? They're just kids. They just want to have fun. The fans definitely won't mind this at all. I mean, for all I know, they would post fan art and fan fiction of children playing with these literal killing machines.
Hey, it's a much more probable likelihood than, say, assuming all critics are child predators. It just goes to show you that these people are so used to a movie not taking any risks or doing anything creative or original that they themselves can't come up with any original arguments against me.
Oh, but here's a surprise. Vanessa, who clearly isn't hiding anything shady about the place, is not thrilled with Mike bringing Abby to work. Which is kind of ironic because she was pretty chill about helping Abby to build a fort with her sadistic play pals earlier. And even though her suspicions were correct, she still let her play with them knowing how dangerous they are. But once Mike questions her motives again, just listen to this response.
Bring Abby back here again, I will shoot you.
Okay, that's a bit drastic. No, seriously, doesn't that go against your code of conduct? Doesn't your father need Mike for his evil plan to— Oops! I might have spoiled that for most of you, but I don't care. Sorry not sorry. Mike, who has the same idea as me, starts thinking logically for once and keeps Abby away from the animatronics on the 5th night. To the dismay of Abby, who has to stay with Auntie. He locks the doors and enters Dreamland for one last time. While he's there, the kids say they can allow Mike to be with Garrett once more, and in exchange, they want Abby to join their band. Mike agrees, but then out of nowhere, he suddenly has a change of heart and doesn't want to give up Abby. It doesn't matter now, because they finally do what they should have been doing in the first place. We then cut to Mike's place, where Aunt Jane receives a visit from a very special figure. So special, he will literally cut your heart out.
Silly Aunt Jane. She fell asleep.
That's one way to avoid explaining a plot hole, like how Freddy was able to find Mike's address, or why he's golden all of a sudden, and oh look! It's the YouTuber who snapped his ankle while trying to fight Purple Guy. Sure, he's no Markiplier, but his reaction to that rusted trophy in the backseat is tight.
Why do I always get the weirdos?
Oh yeah, and Mike survived his encounter with Foxy somehow. Mike has had it with this nonsense, and finally demands answers from Vanessa. So she defecates more exposition to Mike, and my god, is this scene so underwhelming. It's basically just regurgitating what we already know, or should have figured out by now. But we do learn that Afton is indeed the one behind all of this, and of course was responsible for kidnapping Garrett. And wouldn't you know it, Vanessa is his birth child. I do appreciate that they allude to Garrett by showing the same airplane he played with in a family photo. This is one of the few instances where the movie actually shows us rather than tells us what happens.
The kids, they don't want to hurt anyone. He influences them somehow.
Oh, it gets better. Do you want to know how Afton influences the animatronics? It turns out the suit gives him supernatural abilities, allowing the animatronics to think he's one of the fellow kids. This relationship is also strengthened by the pictures on the wall. Now, on paper, that would actually sound confusing yet intriguing. But now that we're seeing it executed on screen, it just sounds confusing. Especially for the uninitiated. Maybe because we're all learning about this right now, that it sounds way more ridiculous than it looks. I would let the movie explain it best, but here's the surprise. The movie didn't even put in the effort to establish this concept at all. I had to research all of this myself. You see, this is what I'm talking about. You know a film is bad when it requires you to do homework in order to understand what's happening on screen. It's like a bad comic book adaptation or a live-action remake from Disney. A movie that requires preconceived knowledge of what you've already seen before. Here's an idea. How about instead of telling us, the movie would just sprinkle in little bits and pieces hinting at his identity? Heck, we could go back to my earlier suggestion, where Vanessa volunteers to babysit Abby. What if she was one of the children under his control as well? But Afton failed to transfer her soul. Perhaps a scene where he's dressed up in the Springlock suit, and he influences Vanessa through the pictures. Vanessa feels weird, then she says to Abby, "Hey, why don't we meet up with your brother at work?" You know what? Screw it. This movie already decided it wants to make its own rules, so why bother trying to explain what's happening? It's worth noting that Vanessa was created specifically for this movie, as Afton only had a daughter named Elizabeth. He also had 2 sons, the eldest also being named Michael, and the youngest being named Evan, who was brutally murdered at the jaws of Freddy after being teased by Michael and his friends. This would become known as the Bite of 83. There I go again explaining. Moving on. So with all this new information that Michael has, it's time to gear up and save his sister. Let's watch how this scene plays out. Wow, to think we were afraid of these Showtime Pizza Palace knockoffs. It turns out all they needed was a few shocks to the face and chest, and they'd tumble like Jenga pieces. And wouldn't you know it, the big mastermind himself shows up, all dressed up in that crooked golden rabbit suit, just like in the photo. And if this climax couldn't be any more nonsensical, it even has a Scooby-Doo mask reveal. Oh, and you'll never guess. Yeah, I know it's you under there, Lillard. You're pretty much the only other adult in this movie who would seem like a prime suspect. Vanessa tries to stand up to her father, who dresses up like a sober Roger Rabbit. So he demonstrates the same way he treated his co-worker's daughter. This gives Abby just enough time to do something that is just as incomprehensible and far-fetched as what I discussed before. That is, she replaced the original drawing on the wall with her own drawing, portraying the yellow rabbit as not so friendly to Freddy and his pals, influencing them to turn on their master. This harkens back to what her teacher said about her in the classroom. And let me just say, it is the equivalent of J.J. Abrams trying to explain the sudden return of Lord Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker. Do you know what's really comedic about all of this? Afton probably had years of studying the dark arts to get where he was, and yet it took Abby a single minute with paper and crayons to sway the animatronics to turn against him. Some antagonist you turned out to be, but who cares? They ambush Afton, but instead of putting his lights out right then and there, the cupcake just bites him, causing the spring locks to go off, impaling his body to the suit.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Afton is also immortal, as emphasized by this one last line he utters, guaranteeing that Universal will definitely milk this franchise until the battery acid runs dry.
I always come back.
Lillard, allow me to level with you for a moment. Stop trying to be a serious actor. You know, I appreciate the effort, but here's the thing. You're no Daniel Day-Lewis.
The fans don't like you because you're a well-respected actor, but because you're a meme. Your entire career is not based on pure talent, but because people can exploit your image so they can reconnect with their childhood, or laugh at how silly you look in any project you take. You may have people who actually believe in you, but overall, you are just a toy in all of this. And at this point, I'd much rather you deliver a line about meddling kids than try to sound like the next Michael Myers. But it's all fine and dandy. Abby is much happier at school and at home, Vanessa is recovering steadily. Oh, and Aunt Jane's dead body and the lawsuit never get mentioned again. Not even a lawsuit where both Mike and Vanessa were involved in a child murder case, which could look bad on their future resume. Oh yeah, and Afton is still alive and kicking, slowly waiting for the sequel to get greenlit. You see, Lillard? No matter what role you take, you will always end up being a child's plaything. I'm just going to say this again. This movie, like the Mario movie, should have never been produced. However, that's not to say that I wasn't cautiously optimistic. I felt they could have made something worth watching with a few minor tweaks. The actors try their best with the material they're given, but it's not enough to overcome the pitfalls. And don't you go on telling me not to take it seriously. It's a movie. It's not real. Just enjoy, man, or any other maniacal excuse. Well, maybe I wouldn't have to if the movie didn't present itself with stakes that needed to be taken seriously. But at the end of the day, we have to remember, this is Baby's first horror movie. I shouldn't have to take it seriously. The plotline is predictable, leading to the climax being a major letdown. Its scares don't make me jump once. This movie just plays everything way too safe. No stakes, no real surprises whatsoever. And the sad truth is, that's pretty much how the fans like it. The thing they're afraid of the most is not the animatronics, but a movie that actually takes risks and does something creative for once. This movie just purely exists to make Fazbear White Knights squee. It is just vibes over substance filmmaking. What saddens me the most is that more people will get to know the director this way, and she's perfectly fine with how the final product turned out. Because that's how you grow in the industry. You don't need pure talent, filmmaking skills, or a good script. All you need is the power of a franchise with an obnoxious fanbase to platform your career. She returned to direct the sequel that just came out, which I have yet to view. But from what I can deduct, it is basically just more of the same, with slightly more creepiness, but overall, more emphasis on annoying jump scares and Easter eggs, and little to no character depth. It will be a while before I release my review on it. In the meantime, I'd like for somebody to update me on the upcoming adaptation of Poppy Playtime. Now that's a stinker that I will definitely have a field day over.
For those of you who made it to the very end, I congratulate you for surviving the night with me. Thanks for watching, and remember, out of all the nastiest things said on the internet, my opinion matters most. Goodbye.